Hello and welcome. My name is Adam Howell and I am your moderator for today's session. Welcome to the Phys Ed Summit. Thank you so much for joining us for this global event. We could not make this day happen without you. We are very humbled by the support of the summit from each of you and the Phys Ed community at large. By sharing what you will learn today with one person, you are able to impact hundreds of students. Thank you so much for being here to push best practices, effective health and physical education, professional development forward. A reminder for us that if for some reason the video feed stops, please check the Tozzle for the new video link. It may take us a few minutes to get it started and rolling again, but we will thank you for your patience. As you know, nothing is ever perfect with technology, and sometimes things do happen with live video. Reminder about the badge system. I will post our link in the Tozzle, but we do have a digital badge system to engage our viewing of the Phys Ed Summit this year, including some badges for people who watch all of our sessions today. I will post that link in the Tozzle. Chatting on Tozzle is a great and a very effective way to learn more, but feel free to also share the info you're learning today on social media using the hashtag Phys Ed Summit so all educators can see it. At the end of the presentation, I will be sending out a link to a Flipgrid. We also have Flipgrid on the Tozzle as well. It is something new we're trying this year for reflection, and it is a video platform where you can share up to 90 seconds of your reflection on what you have learned today. And if you post on Flipgrid, you will be entered to win a drawing. We have 2 subscriptions for the premium version for 1 full calendar year, courtesy of Flipgrid, so shout out to them. And after the summit, we will post the feedback survey to the Phys Ed Summit homepage. We hope that you'll provide us with some feedback so we can make next year's event even better. In order to receive your PD certificate, you will need to fill out the quick survey after the summit. So I have talked too much already, so I'm going to throw it over to our facilitator for this session, Mr. Justin Schleider. Take it away.
Hello, hello, hello. Represent Paddle Slam. All right, so very excited with this panel today because we're going to talk about social media and reflection. Basically, why are we using social media? Where is it improving our practice? Is it improving our practice, or is it a waste of time? So that's kind of the impetus behind the session, and hopefully we can figure out different ways that people are using it and how it's changing their teaching. So enough of me talking. We're going to go to Rich Wiles. Very excited to hear how Rich is using social media to produce.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rich Wiles. I am from Severna Park, Maryland. I am K-5 elementary school physical education teacher. I help moderate the SP chat, which is Tuesday night weekly chat for physical education that focuses on elementary school chat. I also help out. I write a blog for my website, Phys Ed Resource, and it's just kind of one of those things that I like to question and challenge things. And I take my ideas really from social media, and how I produce things is I take what I see and then I adapt that concept into different things. Like some parts of the Open 8 unit that I wrote for Open Phys Ed was literally I saw a need for a certain type of curriculum world, and I had fun just writing it up. So I think social media is great. It's great for reflecting upon our teaching practices. I think it's a very big part of what we do. And I think it also allows us to question and reflect on how we can make education better in its own right. So it's a quick intro. So who's up next, crew?
Real quick, Rich, before you go on, what was that Open 8? I love the idea of open, free resources for people. What is that Open 8 part of it?
So the Open 8, the idea is I saw that, I felt like about November, that I felt like there was a need for cooperation to come back, and the cooperative games with a cultural relevancy piece built in. So one of the big things I wanted to do was to just write a unit that I thought was fun, but also integrate 21st century technology into it. So it was just a fun write, and that's kind of always what I'm writing, is just whatever, no matter if it's a blog or the SP chat or what, we just have fun, enjoy what you do writing, and your things you do here and produce, it really does have an impact, and it allows our educational world to reflect. So it's kind of fun.
Nice. Sherry, what's up?
Hi guys. I'm Sherry Spitz, and I am a physical education teacher, also at the pre-K to 5 level, and I'm calling from Vienna, Austria, where I teach at an international school. I use social media quite a lot, mostly Twitter. I also blog, and I also have a publication on Medium. And I use social media mainly to sort of read and respond. So I do more and more writing. Some of it is about physical education, but it's also about a lot of other topics that interest me. And I found that I use social media really to sort of have my finger on the pulse, so to speak, and a lot of different things, particularly social justice topics are very hot right now for me, and also influence my thinking about my teaching. So that's a little bit about what I do, and yeah, thanks.
Nice. Ron, you are up, sir.
Hey, I'm Ron, and I am in Flint, Michigan, instructional technologist and designer. They always give you these wild, long names. I say, you know, call me X and give me more cash. But anyway, social media, how the way I reflect on that has been really growing by the minute. I'm telling you, it's been phenomenal because just having a meeting with my colleagues yesterday talking about that. Should we get rid of our blog, which is WordPress, one of the tools that we use? And when people first started off of how they were using it, at least in the Michigan area, it wasn't getting that momentum. But what I'm enjoying now is using Periscope. That's really been powerful. Being a part of Pass the Scope EDU has been great. Using the OBS, the open broadcasting, has really been powerful. As we've all used Twitter, Voxer to communicate, because that's what's got me connected to you all, which has really been wonderful. So I'm doing more reflection on how we're doing impacting in the classroom, because I'm an instructional tech. So actually I'm teaching administrators and teachers. But one of the things that I've been using is, as educators, we've been using the Flipgrid, but also with the students, Let's Recap. So they're able to do video and or audio. And that's really touched the community, especially when you talk about special education, because that's what I worked for 18 years. So to be able to give them that extra boost that they can also share and reflect real quick without taking up a bunch of time. But if the teacher wants to put it out there on social media, they have the benefits of doing that. So those are just some of the things that I would like to share. So thanks so much.
Can you tell us a little more about the OBS real quick as Periscope? What is that OBS?
It's for one, it's just phenomenal. Free, you know, like you'll see many of us, even right now on Google Hangout, we got tags underneath. Like I'm saying, hey, this is Ron Madison and my Twitter account. OBS allows you to do that to media. Like most of the ones that I'm using it with right now is Periscope, but you can also use it on Facebook Live. So you can add different screen backgrounds. You can have it scrolling. You can add other audio to that. But the great part about it is the F word, free. Hello, I'm telling you, free is a beautiful thing. And it's cross-platform. So that means it's not just, is it Windows? Yes. But can you also go Microsoft? I mean, that is the same thing. Hello, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. But it is Saturday where I am, so y'all give me some grace. But also it works with the Mac stuff. So it's not perfect. It has glitches every now and then. But when you want it to look really polished, that is one of the tools that you can definitely do it and knock people's socks off. So that's why I like using the OBS as well.
Love it. Thank you, sir. Mike Morris, you are up.
Mike Morris. I'm from Rocky Mount, North Carolina. This is my going to be my 4th year teaching. I teach K-5 PE. I use social media to find creative ways to engage my students, as well as share my ideas and get feedback on them. And I also use Boxer, but I'm sort of like a sponge on Boxer. I just sort of sit back and soak everything up. And I'll also be blogging for Physipedagogy's Connecting the Dots this year. So be on the lookout for that.
I love it. And that connecting the dots, real quick, can you give the people out there a little taste of what is that whole blog series about?
Well, Adam contacted myself and about, I believe it's 4 more educators, and Phys is trying to give teachers a voice, and yeah, that's pretty much what it is. They want to give us a voice, right, Adam?
Yeah, we'll let Adam
Yes.
talk about that.
Just got pulled in.
You did.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think the point was we want to look at guest blogging differently. All of us at Phys Edagogy, we've all felt that blogging has been pivotal for us at some point. And, guest blogging typically, maybe a website or some publication will ask you to write a guest blog, or you submit it and it's a one and done deal. And so this is a little bit differently. We wanted to start contacting physical educators around the country, and multiple physical educators, and give them an opportunity to be a guest blogger for a time period of like 3-4 months, where there's really no limit, where a blogger can post as much as they want to, or as little as they want to, on as many topics as they want, and using the Phys Edagogy website as the platform to share that voice. And then after 3 or 4 months, we are hoping to look for a new cohort of folks who will blog. So that's kind of the idea, is that we're not the only one with voices to share, but we are cognizant that we now have a website that has a pretty big reach. And so empowering other physical educators to share their voice through blogging on the website.
Fantastic. That's really cool about using, the power that you've built over the past X amount of years on social media and being connected, and then giving other people a chance to get their voice out there. Can't ask for much more than that. Keisha, want to tell us a little bit about what's going on? What are you doing out there with producing for social media and reflection?
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Keisha. I am currently in Atlanta, Georgia. This is my 8th year teaching and my 5th year in the instructional technology specialist role. So social media for reflection. I am an occasional blogger. Occasionally I blog, and I want to blog more. I am a tweeter as well, and I love Twitter. I love being able to reflect on Twitter. I love looking at other educators' tweets. I think it really enhances my practice. I believe in sharing. I'm working on sharing more. So I love educators who share via social media. I'm also on Voxer. That's probably been the most transformative in my teaching career, just the relationships that I've been able to develop via Voxer. Also Periscope. I really enjoy watching other educators Periscope, and that's something that I want to get more into. So I'm really excited to hear more about how the people on the panel are using Periscope, especially. But yeah, just excited to be here. So thanks, Justin.
Nice. Thank you. And Shri, Miss Lynch PE, you're up.
Hello, my name's Shri. I'm from England, but I teach at the University of Alabama now. I have taught in elementary, I've taught in special ed and secondary. So I'm using Twitter is my absolute favorite, like everyone. I tweet a lot. I use direct messenger a lot to keep in contact with people overseas, to see what they're doing and reflect on that and get their opinions on stuff. I've just started blogging. I've had positive feedback so far, so I've also had some criticism, which is equally as wonderful. Voxer, I use Voxer. I also use Facebook. I go on PE Central and share things on there a lot. And that's it so far.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. And we have Dr. Dorian. What's going on over there, Dr. D?
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Good. Can you tell us a little bit about how you use social media to reflect, and then what you're doing to produce, being a producer for it?
Okay, well, I'm Dr. Dorian Roberts. I'm straight out of Detroit Public Schools District. Woo! And what am I doing currently? Well, previously I was teaching 5th grade. Currently, I am going to be the technology teacher. What I do to use reflectively, I have to say I use Seesaw. I'm a big proponent of Seesaw. I use that for a lot of reflection. I blog. I also use Voxer. I'm on Voxer on EduMatch. I'm also, what else do I use? Pretty much any gimmick you give me to use, I'll try it once. We'll just see if it sticks. I'm from a district where the digital divide still exists. So I'm murking my way through waters and learning a lot. And as far as what am I using to produce, I'm going to be honest, this year I'm going to turn over a little bit of a new leaf, add a twist, and start being reflective and also producing reflection for my students on Flipgrid. So that's my new tackle this school year. Now back to you, Chuck.
Nice. Next up, straight out of Compton, an educator named Tatul. What's up?
Straight out of Compton, educator named Tatul, from a crew that don't give up. Okay. So Justin and I talked about this, and I told him that I was going to be in Compton doing this because I had a meeting before this. And so that was my thing. Good looking out, Justin. Tatul here from Southern California, sunny Southern California right now. Justin said, straight out of Compton, instructional coach / director of teaching and learning / whatever it is I need to get done for the day. That's kind of what I do. So my reflection tool. So I really want to start blogging. Blogging's been so difficult for me because the writing process is a process for me, and it's hard for me sometimes to get it out, to get my thoughts out on blog form. But I'm using Periscope now, and I'm finding Periscope is a wonderful means for me to reflect on my learning, means for me to kind of highlight the things that are that are happening in my current space. And I love OBS as well. I know Ron was talking about OBS earlier, but I really like OBS because there's a record function on OBS, and I'm able to live broadcast, and I'm also able to record it. So I can take that recording and I can upload it to YouTube. I can upload it to my blogging sites, and I can kind of have this rundown of my different blogs and my different thought processes. So I'm really enjoying OBS. I'm really enjoying learning about that, and I'm really enjoying being a part of Path to Scope EDU and really having this community of people to also learn from. That's been very valuable for me. And I love what we did at ISTE and how we were able to kind of share our brains and really reflect as a community on big ideas and be able to put our individual take on it. So that's what I use. I don't use Seesaw or any of these other cool tools. I'm one technology at a time. Oh, and social media. Social media, yes. I use Voxer and I use Twitter and Facebook now. I'm using Facebook more as a space to reflect. So social media, and specifically Periscope, and specifically Twitter and Voxer has been my 3 go-to tools. Now, Tatul here from Compton, California, throwing it back to you, Mr. Schleider.
Nice. So I'll finish it up real quick. I am Justin Schleider. I teach preschool through 6th grade. I do phys ed, health, and some technology integration as well. The beauty of working in a one school district. So for me, for production, I use Voxer out there. So that's one of the ways when I get done my lessons, go on there, reflect on how the day went with some people in different groups. So there's a billion different Voxer groups out there to do that. And I produce a blog every Sunday that's either a reflection of my teaching or my life. I don't stick to just one or the other. I don't think we can separate them from themselves. So that's pretty much what I do to produce. And what's really cool is getting to question 2 is what social media do I use to consume others' reflections? And what's beautiful about that is everything that I read and listen to and watch, I ask the people to be on the panel. So I go, Dr. Dorian's got her blog that absolutely wows me over there. Phys does their whole platform. Mike Morris is putting his stuff on Twitter all the time of his lessons out there. Ron's on Periscope with Pass the Scope EDU. I know Tatul's on there with them. Shree started blogging. Sherry's blog is second to none. That thing, I have to read 2 and 3 times to really get the depth of what's going on there. With Keisha, ask her about the technology she's using out there. So I've learned from every single person on this panel. Rich just started pushing Shape America, giving them ideas of what's going on in addition to all the open things that are out there. So for me, it's everybody on this panel. Plus, if you're probably watching this live, you're producing something one way or the other that I come across. So everything that I learn and read about, that's what I'm trying to do in my classroom. Infuse social justice. How can we talk about current events? How can I make sure that what I'm doing is really standards based and not just a cool game that keeps the kids busy, happy, and good? You know, where's my inquiry? Is it me doing everything, or am I passing some of that power along to my students? So based on Periscope, Twitter, Voxer, Facebook, I started getting into a little more now. I suck all that up and then try to infuse it in my classroom because, again, going back to our original idea, if you're not changing your teaching practices, then what actually are you doing? That's always a question that I want answered when I talk to people. Like, how did this help your teaching? How is this affecting students? And if it's not, then that's cool, and you do your thing, but it's more of a thing to waste time than it is to impact our students, which we don't want. And for this, I'm going to go right to Adam Howell for number 2. So nothing like being on the hot seat where I didn't write you in there, but how are you using social media that other people are producing to help change your teaching?
No kidding. Nothing like just improvising here and throwing me in there. The question, do you mean like how am I consuming versus producing?
Yeah, how are you taking what's out there, reading it, watching it, doing whatever, and then internalizing it and then actually changing whatever you do so that affects your kids?
Yeah, I think it's a variety of methods for me. When I first started on social media as a professional, I really was a consumer more than anything. And then kind of the natural evolution of that, it started to produce more and more and more. And now I'm at a point where I'm back to like lurking and kind of consuming more mainly through reading blogs or Twitter conversations, you know, things like that. And it's a process for me. I think I've seen over the past couple of years, there's been like this split in social media with education, where there are people who are using it for reflection and are using it for professional development. And as one of the folks mentioned earlier, it's free. It's free. I think Ron mentioned that. It's free, and it should be free. And then we're also starting to see this this avenue on social media where people are using it just to like is a publicity tool or like a political tool, where it's just like, look at what I'm doing, or look what we're doing in our district, or look what we're doing in our school, or they're even using it as more of like an advertisement for a business or something like that. And so it's tough to filter all that white noise. And I try to keep it simple for me as far as consuming, is that, you know, I read a lot of blogs, you know, I connect with a small circle on Twitter, and I think it's those conversations. Like you can't measure that necessarily. You can't measure that with like a effectiveness tool of quality professional development. But what you can do is it's a constantly evolving process of those conversations and how that changes your teaching. And you hit the nail on the head, Justin. You're right, because like if it's not impacting your practice, or if it's not in the end doing something to benefit the kids in your classroom, or whatever your teaching situation is, if you're working with teachers to benefit the teachers you're working with, like what's the point? Like, you know, we can't get fully dialed or just put things on cruise control. Education and teaching and pedagogy, it's a constantly evolving process. And I think the immediacy of social media and the connectedness of social media has helped us to do that. So that's my 2-minute elevator speech, I guess, right there on the spot.
Nice. Sherry, who has, like I said, one of the greatest blogs out there. If you are not following her blog, you want to tell them real quick the link for it so people can kind of have their brain explode a little bit?
Sure. I apologize that I don't have my banner somewhere I lost it. I had it once upon a time. So that may say something a little bit about my tech skills, but I do have a blog, and it's called Edified Listener. And that's also my handle on Twitter. So look for Edified Listener. That's me. And you can find out about all the stuff I do. But thinking about consuming, originally when I came to Twitter, there was one person, I think, who changed things for me, and that was Refrance Davis. I had been lurking on Twitter, and I came across a post that she had written, and I thought, oh, she's talking to me. And shortly after that, she followed me, and I was like, whoa, she's got something. She just followed me. Like I felt so special. And I think I even blogged about it. And then this dialogue started, and that changed the game for me. So I call Refrance my digital godmother, because I feel like having observed her over these few years. It's only been 4 years. That has helped me also always sort of find my own place. Like, what is it that I want to say? What am I concerned about? What are the things that I want to think about? And when I consume on Twitter, I find that I'm interested in sort of communities of practice, and I find that I sort of enter groups who help me think. The conversations that I'm in some of them are specific to my field of teaching, to physical education, but many of them are from a different angle. So from higher education, social justice activists, but they're helping me to think. And then I'm always sort of trying to bring that back. Well, what does this mean for me in my situation? I mean, I don't live in the States right now, but I am American. I teach in an international school that has a large American presence, but also is very international. So I find that my consumption on Twitter has a lot to do with just improving my thinking, improving and expanding my thinking, so that I'm not just looking for new lesson plans, but I find those too, and I definitely use those, but also just sort of thinking, what does it mean that I'm reading about higher ed professors and why they don't earn enough, and the adjunct thing? Why is that relevant? What does that have to do with where I am? So always making these connections. I think that's probably what is most important for me in my consumption, is I'm looking for new and different connections.
Yeah, Refrance is absolutely amazing. She's helped Sarah create EduMatch. When you follow her thought process is different than most people out there. And when I find those kind of thought leaders, I do want to just consume everything they have and soak it up, and then go, okay, if I disagree, why do I disagree? Where are they coming from? And that expansion of your mind, and then getting into areas that I have no clue about, and then just lurking. That's my favorite thing now, just to lurk and just see, what are they talking about? Where are they coming from? And then going on the old Google and researching what's going on and finding out where all my gaps are in my learning and how can I improve that. So yeah, definitely. I like that. And you're big into the digital ped now with Mahabali out there. And that's interesting to see what's going on there and try to learn about that. So we appreciate you out there. Next up, we have Miss Lynch.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't think you could hear me then. Yeah, I use social media really for continued professional development. Although I'm not in there in the schools right now, teaching young people as I once did, I'm teaching physical education undergraduates and majors within the field. So it's really important for me to have the knowledge as to what teachers are doing in the field, and so that I can take that back to the PE teachers that are going to go out there in the field and say, okay, what do you make of this? So it's almost like a double reflection. I'm reflecting on what say, for example, you're doing in your classroom, Justin, and I'm reflecting on it, I think it's pretty good, but then I'm taking it back to them. Is this going to work in Alabama? Is this going to work in your school? Why isn't it going to work? Why, you know, and that's okay that it doesn't work, because not everything does work in every school for every individual. So it's more about getting them to really think as well. I really like to practice it in my own teaching. I like to teach through difference and diversity, and I have that theme throughout every single one of my lessons. Teach for social justice, and so it's really good, especially on Twitter. There's so much out there for me that I'm reading. You know, there's so many debates going on, especially working in the US. It's even more important for me to keep my foot in the door and knowledge about politics. So I really reflect quite a lot on Twitter feeds, and I'll read it all, and I might not always comment, but I'm certainly reading it and reflecting on what people are saying and able to take that back to my classroom. And also a lot of the stuff that I do read and hear about on everyone else's blogs, I'm able to go back and research it. So through the use of social media, I've been able to create a research line into how teachers are teaching for social justice within physical education, and how teachers are appreciating difference and diversity. And without that, that link and reaching out to you constantly, Justin, I really wouldn't have such an interest in this field. And it's great because, you know, social media is always there. You know, I can always tap into this and read and learn something else. So it's a way for me to learn constantly.
Yeah, I think the biggest point you made right there is you have to take whatever is out there and then make it work for your students. Just because it works for Sherry, just because it works for Ron or Keisha, whoever it is, doesn't mean that I could just plug and play. I always have to modify what kind of equipment, what level are my students at. I mean, there's so many variables that go in. That was a really, really good point there. All right, next up, we have Mike Morris in the house. What's going on, Mike?
When I started using social media, I had just graduated from college, and I began my first year teaching, and I was reaching out for help. I needed help. I didn't know what direction to go. So my mom told me, she was like, you need to get on Twitter. And she told me the smartest person in the room is the room. So I started off just taking everything in, consuming it. And then I started producing my own stuff, trying to find new ways to engage my students, looking for fun activities. And as I continue to go on social media, now my focus has jumped to, are my students learning? Are we meeting those standards? How can I improve the environment in my classroom? So social media just changed everything for me. Like I said, when I started, all I knew about was curriculums, and it's just like opened up a whole new avenue of everything for me. And I also use Boxer, but like I said earlier, I'm sort of like a sponge up there. I just soak up everything and think about it. Hopefully soon I can start putting in more input, but Twitter is everything for me.
Nice. And the stuff you put on Twitter is really cool. I love looking through your feed because you put the videos out there that we can see what's going on. And your one picture where you're all dressed up as like a king or something, that thing cracks me up every time. Dr. D, you are up, miss. So where are you consuming from, and how is it changing your teaching?
Definitely Facebook, because I'm from that okey pokey digital age where everybody posts everything on Facebook. So definitely Facebook. Twitter from time to time. And I would have to say Periscope, looking at a lot of Periscope. How has it changed my teaching? Well, with the different kind of Facebook groups that I'm in with educators, including my sorority has the educators Facebook page. I'm more reflective, and if I come up with something different, I kind of put it out there to ask what other people would think. So it gives me an opportunity to create dialogue and discussion on something that I might think is totally cool in Iraq, but somebody from my district might say, you know, hey, I tried that before, or hey, I saw what you put on Monday. How did it work? What are some of the pitfalls? Because I would like to try that lesson too. So that's pretty much it for me.
Nice. Then we got Mr. Wiles out there. What's going on, sir? So where are you consuming? And I believe you're muted. You might want to unmute that bad boy, although we do appreciate you muting so that way we don't hear any background. Still can't hear you, so why don't we go to Iran and we'll come back to you, Rich. Whenever you're all good, just say something in the middle and we'll hit it up. So, Iran, here you go. So,
okay.
Where are you consuming, sir?
Well, I consume from Voxer. So that's where what grabs my interest and gives me the information when I'm needing it. One of the reasons because Voxer, I can listen. So much from the text in Voxer, I don't get to grab that because really I'm consuming when I'm traveling from point A to point B. But the part that has made the biggest change, I would say, is Periscope. And the reason why, because I try to use that tool when I'm training others, my students, which are the educators, and trying to tell them how to tell your own story. Being in Michigan, being in Flint, you know, everyone, when I was at ISTE this year, before I would say, hey, I'm from Flint. Where's that? Just north of Detroit. When I say Flint, people go, oh, and so then I'd have to make jokes about making smoothies, adding bananas and stuff like that because of the water. But I'm trying to teach people really how to tell your own story and really be passionate about it. Teachers don't want to do that. You know, being from Flint or Detroit public schools, the global majority, people look at me, oh my gosh, you're a dark male, you're in education, oh, special ed. What can you tell me about this? I have to be able to tell my own story. Surroundings with people who aren't used to seeing people who look like me. And then who can articulate on a level that they can understand it and make them feel comfortable and not threatened to where they're saying, I want to learn more from you. It's been because of different tools like the Voxer, but the Periscope, I can whip it out right then and then say, well, tell me a little bit. Why do you want to do this? Grab a hold of and then run with that. And so no more is the excuse. Well, our district doesn't offer that. Because again, my job is to help people think beyond the box. One of my nicknames is the box breaker. So I help them break their box and stop thinking that way. But sometimes I do get those educators who keep going back in their box. Then I turn into FedEx and ship them in their box out of my area. That's my joke with them. But I'm really telling them, don't give me any excuse. I'm going to show you a way out, and then you have the opportunity to accept it. So because your district doesn't offer it, so what? If you look at the people on this panel right now, we are global. We're not just in the US, but we're all around. But guess what? We use the tools that's available. If it's our own tools, if it's a district tool, we are using those tools. And we do hear you, Rich. And we can keep on moving like that. So anyway, those are just a few of the things that I want to share. I'm going to shut up now because Justin's laughing big time at me.
Yo, you drop knowledge all the time. Absolutely. And then shipping them in a box with FedEx. Oh, good Lord. All right, Rich, let's go back to you, sir.
Okay. I think the thing is I consume most of the time on Twitter. I have an addiction to Twitter, I would say. And I use Voxer, but I use Voxer as almost it's like a gateway to side conversations. I'm on Voxer more for the side conversations because you can then figure out what people are talking about and then figuring out the aspects of the activities or the concept, which is kind of fun. I think consuming is a big part of what we do. And I think people have said it, that if we can find a way that we can consume and figure out how we're going to use it into our classes and our activities, I think it's very important. One thing I really like doing when I whatever I find there, I try to figure out how you can teach it or implement it at the least amount of cost, and figuring out how you can, you know, grow that concept over time, which is kind of fun. I think the way that I use it in my job is nowadays I'm taking on that more master teacher role, and it's trying to preparing people for the next generation. And it's you trying to find those tools that they're going to, you know, not be in an echo chamber. They're not going to be stuck with a small group, and finding ways to get them to get everything they need. Anything I work on or anything that I have fun with is I have to feel like I want to be there, and I want to have that passion behind whatever I'm working on. And I think that's the key is the social media allows you to take a creative idea that makes only sense to maybe 3 people, and you can take that idea and run with it. And it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun how social media conversations that started on social media are now like, you know, I had Saturday coffee this morning talking with somebody in Texas. It was one of those kind of deals. And though your wife is yelling at you because you're, you know, doing you're talking on the phone for 40 minutes this morning on the deck while your kids are running around. But I think it's a big part. I think and Justin, you said it earlier, it's your lives, your side life and your teaching life, they all kind of come into this one different machine, and your brain never shuts down. And I think that's the best part, is that you can constantly learn all the time, and learning is what we're here for. I think if you're on here, you're trying to figure out how you can do things better. And I think that's the key to all of social media right now. If we can figure out how to work together and make things, you know, that are going to affect the future. And sometimes it's taking old concepts that were around 30 years ago and making them more relevant to today. I mean, look at the TGFU model, look at the sport ed model, and how they're going to be changing more and more too, just in our field of physical education. So that's all my spiel. I don't want to take up too much time because we're already on question 2 and we're getting in the home stretch.
Nice. Yeah, you're right. The whole collaboration piece of social media is absolutely fantastic. Love that. Keisha, finish this up, lady. Where are you consuming?
All right. So I'll talk specifically about Twitter and how it's just completely flattened the classroom walls for me and just allowed for these amazing global connections. Part of what I do in my position is I get to work with students, which is amazing, but I also get to work with teachers. And my job is to introduce digital tools to them. And a lot of times they're like, oh, well, you know, that's just something Keisha does, right? Oh, you want us to use Seesaw? No, Keisha, you're the only one who uses Seesaw in like the world. So a couple years ago, what I did specifically with Seesaw, because I wanted our students to use digital tools, is I was able to go on Twitter and storify or curate different messages from different educators K through 5 who were using Seesaw in the classroom. So my teachers got to see that other people all over the world were using this tool, and they got to see specifically how they're using it in a kindergarten classroom, how they're using it in a 1st grade classroom, in a 2nd grade classroom. And that was just amazing and transformative for them. So I think the power that social media gives us to bring the world into our schoolhouse is just, it's incredible. It's incredible. It's changes teachers when they can see that other people are doing things and when they can get other ideas and when you're able to give them other ideas. Seesaw was something that was new for me, so I couldn't tell you how a 1st grade teacher would use Seesaw, but I was able to get on Twitter and find that out and then bring that to the teachers at my school, and that's just amazing. And that's not something we would have been able to do several years ago before the explosion of social media. So that's how I tweet. That's how I use Twitter to curate for my school.
I love it. Love the storify too, to keep it for the future, because Twitter does seem to disappear and trying to find it later is difficult. So we have about 5 minutes left, and I want to go one quick question. We all talk about how great social media is, and I would say in general, we all agree that it is great, but there are negatives to it. There are a couple things that we have to keep in mind. So if you want to go through 30 seconds, just real quick, if there are any negatives that pop in your head, I will start this first. When you have large gaps in your knowledge, especially when we talk about privilege, and you don't recognize it, and you're putting stuff out there for the entire world to see, you do get a little pushback in there, and it's uncomfortable, and it's it makes you check everything and reevaluate everything you're doing and why. So that would be one thing, is to remember that, like Ron said, we do have a global audience. And while that's a positive in a way, it's also, you have a global audience. So anything you say or put out there, somebody's reading it with a critical eye and is going to give you pushback on it at some point in time. And you have to be ready for that. And if you're not, and if your skin's not thick enough, then maybe you just lurk and you learn, and that's fine, or try to figure out a way to do something where when you do get the pushback, you don't react in a certain way. I wish I could tell you that my journey's been smooth. It is definitely not, but it's been well worth it. I do want to put that out there. Just make sure you know that it's there. Dr. D, you go first. What's up?
When you talk about some of the, what do you want to call it, consequences, setbacks, negatives, challenges, we're never off. We're never off. Technology is always on. We're never off. And I think that it's crucial for us to take the time sometimes to be off and to model that for our students. And now I'm getting off.
Keisha, any negatives?
Yes, I think that is so big. It can be overwhelming and scary for educators. It's just a big, scary universe. So knowing how to start small, knowing how to use the hashtags, just understanding what social media is and how to navigate it, because it's so big. That's the obstacle to getting people on there for me.
All right, Mike, any negatives? One of the negatives is not unmuting yourself. So we will go to Adam. Any negatives?
Oh, you put me on the spot again, Justin. Okay, yeah, negatives for me is we're starting to see this right now, where there are so many people who are now on social media who are educators, particularly physical educators. There was a point in time where everyone is agreeing with everybody, and now there is a lot of disagreement. PE Central on Facebook is probably one of the best examples right now. It's a hot spot, and it's how to navigate those disagreements, how to move forward. Everyone doesn't have to be the same, but there probably should be some basic things that we agree on as far as how to have our conversations. So can't talk any more than that right now because I got to moderate in about 5 minutes.
All right, Mike, anything?
Yeah, everything. You gotta be careful. Everything on social media is not vetted. You gotta pick and choose.
Great point. Rich?
I would say consequences. You never know who you're going to get emails from but while what you write. And I think that the not having a peer review type of setup on social media does, as Mike just put it, is a major factor in the world. So vet your stuff like you would vet it if you believe the safety and the instruction is there for your students.
Love it. Ron?
Don't allow virtual to take over personal, meaning face-to-face. I know that's one of the things that can happen, that we get so consumed with virtually that we don't have that reality check that comes in.
Love it. Sherry?
My big concern, privacy and security. Yeah, so I follow Funny Monkey for that.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Fantastic.
platform capitalism. Read about that.
Yeah, follow him. Shri, last one.
Yeah, I agree with everything. So it's tough going last. Just remember, especially if you're new to it, it's not that it's negative, it's a learning curve. Just remember some of the media that you'll select is privileged text, and text can be easily misinterpreted and misconstrued. So if you are new to it, perhaps go for something like Boxer, where you're able to actually explain what you say. But then Boxer also has that double-edged sword that they think because potentially you have an accent that you are, so just remember all of these different things. Just be cautious and remember who's listening. And it does get addictive. When you have a day off Twitter, goodness me, I feel like I've missed a week off school. So just be prepared. And like Dorian said, just make sure you have your off days and your on days.
All right. So thank you to Phys for putting this on for free. And I will turn this over. And also thanks my panel for taking time out of your weekends for talking education. Adam?
Not much else to say, Justin. Great panel today. The Tazo link, the conversation's still going on there. Please post a Flipgrid if you have a chance. And we want to give out a couple prizes for a year-long subscriptions to Flipgrid. Once again, thank you everyone for joining today, and hope you stick around for more Phys Ed Summit sessions. And I will be moderating one coming up here in about 3 minutes with Lisa Berman. So see y'all then.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.